أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر أمري وعقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. There, sisters, if you are online and you can see and hear me, please let me know that you can see and hear me so that we can go into the class proper. Our topic is of phases and phases of trauma. That's how it manifests in individuals and the process individuals go through when they're experiencing trauma. So if you're live and you can hear me, please comment below so I know that you can hear me. Okay, so thank you so much. So phases of trauma. What exactly is about trauma? We are talking about experience and events and our emotional event that is overwhelming. So the event we experience is an overwhelming event. For instance, verbal abuse, for instance, rape, and physical abuse. All of these are ways that trauma can happen. So our emotional response to an overwhelming physical or emotionally threatening event. We have Dr. Gabo Mate. He's a psychologist, he's an author, and he has done deep research into trauma and recovery. And he has happens to you. It is what happened inside of you as a result of what happens to you. So you and I can experience the same thing, but our emotional response to that event may be different. So for one person, that event may be traumatic, and for the other person, it may not be traumatic. For instance, if an individual experiences physical abuse, so for some people, their emotional response to that physical abuse they may amplify it so much on the inside of them. It may threaten their very existence such that it becomes traumatic for them. So let's see. And one other characteristics of trauma is that most people find it difficult to speak about it. Silence is one of the things that deepens the impact of trauma. That's why you see more women are speaking up about the abuse they're suffering. It could be in marriage, it could be in their educational institutions, it could be anywhere. But know that silence is one of the things that deepens the impact of trauma. So when we talk about the phases, how the phase of trauma is how it manifests in each individual. It can be psychological, it can be emotional, it can be physical, it can be behavioral. So when we talk about the psychological symptoms of trauma are feelings of persistent worry. So you see individuals are getting worried persistently. Some individuals go through panic attacks. It's a manifestation of a traumatic event that they have gone through that they have not dealt with. Then we also have depression, feelings of sadness, a lack of interest. You see, some individual, they don't have interest in anything. I was speaking to a client some days ago, and she said that I heard this voice in my head, telling me that nothing matters anymore, that, I can take my life, that nothing at all matters in life. And this is an individual that has been going through relationship breakups, from one relationship that does not work to the other, and she had some other personal challenges, you know, um, a- as a result of this. And beyond, the challenges with her relationship, she had other challenges that she was dealing with. And as a result of dealing with these challenges, she felt that nothing mattered anymore, and she was contemplating suicide. So these are some of the ways that trauma can push us to, take some certain decisions if we're not careful, decisions that may impact us short, medium, or long term. Some people experience dreams. These are all still part of psychological effects of trauma. Some people experience dreams. Then some people have intrusive memories. They can just be sitting down and they would have, a movie playing in their head of that traumatic incident that has happened to them. It could be the physical abuse they have suffered. It could be the emotional abuse or the verbal abuse or whatever sort of abuse. It could be rape. It's any form of abuse that they have suffered. So they have these intrusive thoughts that come to them that doesn't allow them focus on the present moment. Some people, they detach from reality. They are not in touch with reality at all because of the psychological effects of trauma. Then, what are some of the emotional symptoms, right? Some of the emotional symptoms are a feeling of numbness. People having emotional response to trauma, they feel numb. They are unable to, feel emotions. They cannot feel happy, they cannot feel sad, they just feel numb. Some people, they are highly irritable, and it's easy for them to get angry. So these are some of the emotional responses to trauma. um some people, they cannot connect to other people. They cannot feel empathetic because of the trauma that has happened to them. They cannot feel um emotions with you when you're going through sadness, when you're going through joy. They cannot feel these feelings, and they cannot show you these feelings because they have been through trauma. Then we have anxiety. Some individuals, they experience anxiety as a result of the trauma they've been through. And some people, they feel guilt and shame. Some people who have been through rape, for instance, they feel shame as a result of what they've been through. They want to hide that they have been raped. They want to hide. They feel dirty. Some people feel dirty. Some people go as far as, scrubbing themselves in the bedroom and wounding themselves in the process of scrubbing themselves because they feel dirty, they feel ashamed, they feel guilt. Then some of the physical symptoms of trauma are individuals experience insomnia. Some people um have trouble falling asleep. Some people experience persistent tiredness. They feel tired for no reason. They are unable to do anything. I have a couple of clients who have gone through this. They are unable, some of them, they are even unable to feed themselves, bathe themselves. They have to be, taken care of. Somebody else has to give them care. All of these are a result of the somatic response, the body's response to the trauma that they have experienced. And some of these people, they even go through medical checkups, and the doctor does not find anything wrong with them medically. Everything is fine, but they cannot do anything for themselves. They experience feelings of persistent tiredness. They experience feelings of fatigue, extreme fatigue. All of these are responses, physical responses to trauma. Some people, they experience stomach ache. Some children, they experience persistent stomach ache if they are going through sexual abuse. It's one of the things you should also take note of. When a child, consistently complaints of stomach ache, and they do tests and they don't find anything wrong with the child, or even an adult, you carry out tests, but you're feeling this pain, but nobody can explain to you, exactly what is happening, because the tests, they're coming back new. There is nothing showing from the test. Then we have, okay, we have behavioral symptoms of trauma. So some individuals, the way they behave would show you if they are going through trauma, or even if it's you going through the trauma. Some of these things that we're sharing right now, if you can pinpoint them for yourself, you know that, oh, this is likely trauma, right? So what are some of the behavioral symptoms of trauma? Some individuals, they don't like to go to certain places because that place gives them traumatic memories. When they're there, they have, intrusive thoughts as a result of having attached that particular location to trauma that has happened to them. And then, so they avoid some of these places. Then we have self-destructive behavior. We have some people who cut themselves. They use sharp objects to cut themselves, or they are generally very harmful to themselves. These are behavioral responses to trauma. Then we have social withdrawal. Some people, they withdraw socially. They don't want to have anything to do with other people when they are experiencing trauma. They don't want to go to social events. They don't want to show up in certain places. Then we also have excessive sleeping and eating, or not eating enough, or not sleeping enough. All of these are responses, behavioral responses to trauma. We have some people experience memory problems. They have difficulty remembering aspects of the traumatic event. Let's take, for instance, rape. They have challenges with even remembering the incident itself. Sometimes how it started, how it ended. They have all of these challenges. Then we have individuals who have challenges with concentrating, either at school or at work, because they are going through trauma. Some people also have what we call RATs, reoccurring automatic negative thoughts. So they have RATs. These RATs stop them from actually thinking anything positive. They have this movie playing in their head of reoccurring negative about themselves, about the world, about other people, because of the trauma they've been through. So all of this, the responses can vary depending significantly on influences like their support system, the individual's previous experiences, and the ability of the individual to respond to therapy. Now, we have talked about the different ways that you can notice trauma in yourself or in others, how you are responding, right? Now, we're going to talk about the the stages you go through when you're going through trauma, through recovery, how you begin to recover. So, the phases are when trauma happens. For instance, the loss of a loved one, right, is a traumatic event. For some people, they experience shock and then they go into denial. They say, no, this is not happening, right? Like when my mom passed, we were in the hospital, and my sister says she noticed that she's breathing. And then I called the doctor, doctor, please come and check her. They checked, there was no breath. So this is shock and denial for us that, oh, this is not happening, right? So the individual may experience disbelief, numbness, or emotional shock. Some people, they experience physical reactions such as trembling. Some people, they start experiencing nausea, or they they have to vomit during the process. Sorry about that, using that word. Beating. These are all reactions because they're in shock or they're in denial. They fight. Some people they just go numb. You cannot get anything. They just go numb. They cannot talk, speech. They cannot even hear you. And denial. So to trauma. Sometimes just go through rape. Out when it happened, they were denial that it has actually happened. So how do you say things? So this is one of the reasons that, young people and even older people, they are unable to even, say this has happened to me, because they are still in shock, they're still in denial, they're saying no, this is not happening, and all of that. Then when this happens, individuals begin to, process what happened. When people process, they may go from denial to anger. They're angry. They are so angry that, they can destroy, they can do all sorts. That anger is so huge on the inside. And some of this anger is self-destructive. They want to destroy themselves because this has happened to them. They don't want to, they are in denial, they're angry, and they're like, no, this did not happen, but now they know it has happened, and the effect can be cataclysmic. It can cause, a huge amount of damage on the inside and on the outside. Now, when people are in denial, they can go from denial to bargaining. So for some people, how bargaining happens is, for instance, they can tell Allah, oh yeah, Allah, why don't you take this and leave this for me? Why don't you do this? They begin to say a lot of scenarios. Excuse me. They begin to, like, okay, how I wish this happened instead of this. How I wish that, this happened instead of this, and all of this. So this is people bargaining, thinking, oh, how I wish. Then the next stage that people need to get to is, some people from bargaining, they go into depression, right? They go into depression. They are unable to function. They're just there. They are unable to care for themselves. They're unable to care for people under their care, and they're just there. I know a young teenager told me that her mom, you know, right, if she sees like she has splitting headaches, these are all signs of depression. And her mom has been doing this for years. And I didn't get to meet her mom, but I advised her that if her mom is not already on, the mom should commence therapy. And sometimes it can be difficult for people going through this to even seek help or to even start therapy, right? Because the very resources, internal resources that the person has to think clearly and seek for solutions is being impacted. So it's people around the individual that can help the individual seek the help that they require. Then we have, from depression, individuals can now go into the stage of acceptance. At the stage of acceptance, individuals begin to heal, go through, begin to speak out about the trauma they experienced, and by this doing, they begin to recover and begin to get their lives back. So these are the phases. So as Muslims, right, what are some of the ways that we can help ourselves, what are some of the therapies that we can leverage? In what kind of life can we be living so that we can be in a better position when trauma happens? Now, we know that Allah has told us in the Quran that He will test us. He will test us. He will test us with something of loss of lives, property, and some of those tests. He has also told us how to, you know, go through the test. As Muslims, Allah has told us how to go through some of the tests. He has told us to bear patience. He has told us to persevere. He has told us to grow our resilience. So, as Muslims, when we engage in lifelong learning and we put ourselves in a position to have some of these resources, now sensitizing ourselves about how and why trauma happens places us in a better position to respond better when it does happen. Of course, like I said in the beginning, the response differs for each individual, but the richer your mental capital is, the more likely you're able to respond better and recover faster. Like, for instance, with my experience and with the mercies and blessings of Allah, when I experience any traumatic event now, what I do is, as much as possible, try to go through the stages of recovery, the stages I've listed, you know, above. So as soon as I go into shock, I go into denial, I ask myself, Aisha, in what way can you look at this? To progress through the stages, so I can progress into bargaining. Then I call myself back and I tell myself, this is one of the trials promised by Allah, and how has Allah told us to respond to trial? So I ensure I process my anger. I go through the anger phase in I hold space for myself, going through the anger. I allow myself feel the anger, the bubble of anger. If I can, I direct it to something productive. It could be punching something, it could punching my pillow, it could be making zikr, it could be anything that would help me move through that stage faster. And then I, as much as possible, get to the stage of acceptance. Now, when I get to the stage of acceptance, I start to look for the blessings, for the lessons that incident has come to teach me. So, for how I processed my grief when I lost my mom, the first thought that occurred to me was there something else I could have done that could have prolonged her life? And I was, because that night I slept with her in hospital, and by morning, by around 9 a.m., I handed over duty to my sister. I had a class. I was in class when my sister called me and said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi rajiun. Immediately she said this, I went into shock, denial, but I was able to, because I actually picked the call. I was also monitoring. So I excused myself and then I started to make dua. When I got to the hospital, um that particular night, by around 4 a.m., when I checked on her vitals were low. I called the nurse. The nurse gave her some injections, and then by 6 a.m. her vitals had picked up. So when I wanted the doctor had not come for their rounds when I was leaving, but when I went down to get a doctor, the doctors were writing exams. So one of the doctors that I met assured me that they will prioritize seeing my mom immediately. They had, the doctor that was supposed to do the rounds was the one coordinating. But as soon as he finished coordination, he was just going to leave them to for the other junior doctors and then go for the round. So she promised me that since I said the vitals were now okay, they were going to, see her, because that was her vitals were fluctuating for 2 days. But they will stabilize her and then it will fluctuate. And she had had this episode before, it was not new. So I didn't feel it was life threatening. So I left. So later I was speaking to my friend, that very day. She's a medical doctor. When she came to me, I said, was there something I could have done? Maybe I should have brought that hospital down for them to see my mom that morning before I left. And she looked at me and she said that she reminded me of the hadith where, it said that whatever has happened Allah has destined it. There was nothing you could have done about it. If it has not happened, then you continue to try your best. That if all the world were to gather to benefit you, they cannot, except if Allah signs it. And if all the world were to gather to harm you, they cannot, except if Allah signs it. So everything happens by the decree of Allah. And the passing of my mom, no matter what I could have done, if it was meant to happen, it has been ordained, it will happen. And this comforted me, right? Now, when I found comfort in this, at the stage of acceptance, I started to tell myself that, oh, during those last phases, last stages of her life, we had a lot of conversations about life and death. She was telling me, look, Aisha, I'm so grateful that the blessings Allah has given me over time. I am 63. Allah has given me all of those blessings. And for all of this time, there are some things that I felt that I would have done better, but I have come to that realization now. And I fear the meeting with my Lord, and I am more invested in repenting, in doing good deeds, and all of that. So she was actually at peace, because sometimes she would be in dialysis and they will bring a 6-year-old boy for dialysis. And she was like, what? So all of this, my life, Allah has blessed me with good health. And where will this child, this child's trial is starting much earlier than mine. And we'll have all of these conversations about life and death. So for me, I was more invested in, oh, we had all of these moments. And Alhamdulillah, I was the one that escorted her. And I'm a sadaqatul jariyah for her. She didn't escort me to my last resting place. I escorted her. So I began to look for the blessings. We spent a lot of time together talking. We spent a lot of time reflecting about Allah. I was able to serve her during her last moments. I was able to be there for her. So all of this, and I was able to focus on her the good deeds that, people were talking about her. These were for me, what I chose to focus on. So whenever I miss her, I will smile and think about the good things that, the good times we had, the good things she did. And then I'll make duas for her. I'll see myself as a continuation of her good deeds, as a sadaqah jariyah. So for me, this was my acceptance. This was my healing. So I miss her every day. Sometimes it's seeing her favorite cup or seeing her favorite dish or remembering something we spoke about, and then I'll miss her, and then I would think of, I'll make duas for her. So these are the things I choose to focus on. So in recovery, you can choose to focus on the lessons. Like, we have had individuals who have gone through rape incidences. They have decided to establish an NGO. They established this NGO to help others who have gone through this to heal. So if you look at this is something good that came off of a bad situation. We have had individuals, women, who have gone through traumatic events in their marriage or in their life, establish NGOs to help others going. So this is a good thing coming out of a bad situation. So whatever you have been through, mine it and look for the good in what you've been through. These are some of the ways of healing yourself and healing the world. One person at a time, we can all heal. And when you come to a place of acceptance, you stay in a place of gratitude for the lessons you have learned from whatever has happened to you. So I want you, wherever you are right now, whatever you're doing, I'm going to give us 1 minute. That 1 minute is to think of a traumatic event in your life and think of the lessons you have learned from that event. Think of how you can use that lessons to better your life and to better the lives of people around you. Think of how you use some of these lessons to start a purposeful journey for the future, right? So I'm going to give us 1 minute. We're going to do this, and then would continue the session. We're about to round off, inshallah. If you have questions, I think there is a way. Sister Fatima, how can they ask their questions? How can they share their comments? Please share with us. So we have 1 minute. Bismillah. Okay, 10 more seconds to go. And if you can, share with us, those traumatic events if you want, and what are the lessons you have learned from. Okay, thank you. So what are the lessons you have learned from this session, and how do you plan to apply it in your personal life? If you want to go deeper into this, we have an upcoming training on neuro-linguistic programming. It's scheduled to hold in Abuja. Neuro-linguistic programming is the physiology and psychology of excellence. It helps you to understand your behavior. It helps you with tools to heal your trauma faster and better. And it also helps you to help others. When you take our neuro-linguistic programming training, you get 2 certificates. You get a certificate as a results coach, and you get another certificate as a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, which helps you help yourself to resolve your traumas and also help others. It can help you help others to set goals and achieve them in a strategic manner. We have lots of testimonials from our graduates. You can check us out on our website. You can see our testimonials. You can see the program, www.mastercoachhub.com. Sister Fatima is going to help us share the link to our website. If you want to reach me, you can also reach me for your one-on-one consultation for therapy. You can reach me on 080-361-36786. So we offer Heal, Transform, and Thrive therapy sessions. We have amazing testimonials from those who have been through that particular recovery program, and you can benefit from it. Sister Fatima is going to help me share my contact detail and my website details for you to go through and see. We have other programs on our website. We do both one-on-one sessions, and we also do business to business. We train staff of organizations on team building, effective communication skills, and performance mastery. So these are some of the things that you can benefit from us. Our contact details are there. And do we have any questions? Do we have any comments? Sister Fatima? Okay. Okay. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Jazakumullahu khairan. And remember that you can experience what we call post-traumatic growth if you leverage the lessons that you have gained from your trauma. It's going to be we have had all the prophets of Allah who have gone through various forms of trauma from their own family members, from their communities. And if you look at the life of Rasulullah, he came back to Makkah and he just walked in and conquered Makkah. So you can conquer whatever it is that you're going through right now. Be patient, learn the skills you need to navigate whatever situation you're going through, seek help. seek professional help, seek support from loved ones, speak out. It's one of the most um, effective gifts you can give yourself. Trauma and pain thrives in secrecy, in silence. Do not keep silent. Speak up, speak up, speak up. If anything is happening to you, journal, write it. If you cannot say it, write it and give it to somebody who can read it and get you help. Find a way to let it out. Do not keep it in. If we keep it in, it can help, it can make individuals burst. That's why you see some individuals, they start to behave abnormally, and you start to think, okay, what's wrong with this person? It's because they're keeping in things they are supposed to bring out. You can recover, you can recover from trauma. You can become the very best version of yourself, and you can do this more effectively with our neuro linguistic programming training. We also have another virtual training coming up in August, so you can decide to take the training for June, or you can, if you're in Abuja, the Abuja version is physical, but we're going to do live streaming. If you want to join the live streaming of that one, you can also register. My details are there. If you're interested, contact me and we can speak. The training fee is 300,000, and the training is for 4 days. It's for Saturday and Sunday, 1st, 2nd, 8th, and 9th June 2024. That of August is for 3rd, 4th, 10th, and 11th August 2024. Inshallah, that one is going to be via Zoom. On this note, I want to say thank you very much for the invite. Thank you, Coach Mutiat. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Sister Fatima, for being on the back end and for supporting this. Thank you to everyone who is present right now or is going to listen later. As you listen, share what you are taking away from the session. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Amin wa iyyakum. Dr. Mariam right there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Sister Fatima, I am signing out. Jazakumullahu khairan.